And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. Now we go to our very final issue about the new majority leadership of Parliament. The new majority leadership of Parliament. Not long ago, there was this rude change of the leadership in Parliament by the minority. And we thought that it would not repeat itself. Then we woke up just last week and the start of this week, we discovered that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, the formidable legislator and majority leader, he's been minority, he's been majority leader, is to suffer such a booting out. Eventually, he himself comes to say he is resigning voluntarily. But of course, he says something else that clearly showed that it was not exactly voluntary, because he said he was resigning to avoid a cataclysmic, I think that's the word he used, whatever, within the NPP, some explosion. Now, this is what part of what has led to what is happening. In the old rules, as in the standing orders of Parliament, 1st November 2000, who is a majority leader? The rule says majority leader means a member of Parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the House as their recognized leader in the House. Designated by the party, the political party. That's what it said. They have changed those rules. They now have the 2024 rules come in. And in the 2024 rules, designated by the caucus, not the party. So you would have heard Joe Wise say this is wrong. It's a scheming he's unhappy about. I'm holding in my hand the report of the Constitution Review Commission from a political to a developmental constitution, 2011 December. And they note how weak our parliament was because of how the independence was supposed to exercise and to help us to hold others, arms of government accountable. It was failing. Is that where we are going now, when the parties are controlling the parliament? Joining us on this discussion is Dr. Arthur Kobina Kennedy. He's a physician and a former presidential aspirant in on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, thank you very much for your sacrifice. I know what time it is where you are, and it must take only sacrifice for you to be up this morning to join us. Let's hear what you have to say about the developments in Parliament and how we can go forward in not compromising the independence and oversight of Parliament.
Sure. Good morning, Samson, to you and your listeners. I've listened to the whole program, and I crave your indulgence to make a few comments on Ejapa before I go to Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. I think that Ghanaians complain a lot about not having exceptional and patriotic leaders. But unfortunately, when people do manifest these things, we don't celebrate them enough. So today, on behalf of Ghanaians, let us thank former Attorney General Mrs. Gloria Akufu for her very clear, transparent opposition to the Ejapa deal that didn't get enough commendation. Martin Amedu did a very good job in his report as well. I think that Bryce Simmons laid it out very well, and a lot of us can understand that. I think that if you say that you have a maize farm and you see somebody with a machete and a basket circling your maize farm, and somebody says, wait for the person to harvest your maize before you call them a thief, the person is being a little disingenuous. I think the fundamental problem with Ejapa and SML and a lot of these deals, even in previous governments, is the fact that too often the people who make decisions for us do not have the public interest at heart. They are fronting for private interests. And this Ejapet deal clearly, as Bryce Simmons showed, would have given us 500 million, which we've already received from mineral royalties since then. So the idea that this was supposed to be the interest of Ghana, really, it is not there. And I think Parliament failed us. They should have done their job of accountability. And to Sami Gyamfi, if the NDC comes into power, I hope the pledge for accountability will not be just like we've heard in the past. In 2016, Nada was going to hold NDC people accountable for malfeasance and nothing happened. I hope this time something will happen. Now let me go to Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. First, I think that the way we sack people in Ghana as a culture is not healthy. A lot of people will tell you that I have rarely agreed with Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. We disagree on a lot of things. But I believe that in terms of party loyalty, he's been a very loyal member of the party, loyal minority and majority leader. So even if there was a need to change him, the manner that it occurred was inappropriate. The second thing is that from the interest of the party, I think we shot ourselves in the foot. Now there are about 40 incumbent MPs who either chose not to run or were defeated in the primaries. These attempt to quote unquote move them aside is really self-harming because they are still in a parliament that is almost evenly divided. So if you do these things and they do not have commitment to the government's agenda, the rest of the way will be very difficult because people can miss votes deliberately or otherwise. So I don't think this is a good idea. Now, let me go to the principles of it. I think that the 2024 standing orders of parliament actually are an advance on democracy. I think that a parliamentary caucus that is beholden to the party, which in quotes is actually the president, because he calls the shots there, is not independent enough. I think that the biggest weakness of our current constitution is the lack of independence of parliament and the weakness of parliament. And the Ejapet deal that we just discussed is a classic illustration of that. So I think that we need to encourage parliamentary caucuses that develop its own leadership and strength and principles independent of their parties and are accountable directly to the public. I mean, in US here, it is almost unheard of for the president or somebody outside of the House of Representatives or the Senate to tell them who their leader should be. And that should never be the case. So I think that the MPP has made a mistake. The new 2024 rules are good, and they are another indication of the silent Herculean work that Speaker Babin has done. Unfortunately, he himself seemed to be contradicting some of the rules that they put in place. But I think the rules are excellent. We should encourage Parliament to follow them, to develop independence, and to stand aside from their party, and particularly from the executive when it is doing things that are not in the public interest. I think the MPP has made a mistake, and as the months evolve towards the election, they will live to regret this decision that was made. And I think that Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu deserves better.
But you're saying the speaker, also his comments, his ruling of sorts, that suggested that even though the new standing order says majority leader means a member of parliament designated by the majority caucus as their leader in the House, which is in sharp contrast to the old, which said designated by the party. So we woke up one morning and the NDC General Secretary wrote a letter that simply said, this is our new group. You like it or not, that's what you take. You're saying the speaker may not also have been helpful in his ruling by suggesting that even though the standing orders say that the designation must be by the caucus, they must consult the party. You're saying that is not progressive. But the people who are there as MPs are sponsored by the parties. You have a constitution that says if you cross carpet, you lose your MPship.
Well, in fairness, though, consult does not mean obey the party. So consult just means having a conversation with the party. You know, you can listen to the party, can say we think this is the best person, but in the end, the decision must be by the caucus. Having said that, yes, the parliamentarians stand on the ticket of the party, but they also are voted for directly by a constituent. And now that you say that, you remember how many MPP MPs were solidly for Bawumia, and look at how many of them lost. It means that there is a divergence in the opinion of the parliamentary group compared to the people on the ground. And so parliamentarians, if they want to stay long, must listen to the people. I actually had a relationship with a United States senator here, who at that time has served for 22 years. And he said, you know, senators don't stay for 24 and 30 years by following a president. You know, they follow their principles and they follow what the public says. So what happened in the MPP primary must inform, you know, parliamentarians and aspiring parliamentarians that at the end of the day, the best way to preserve your position is to listen to the people. And if they were listening to the people, they would have stopped the Ejapa deal. If they were listening to the people, they would have insisted on kind of a living instead of caving when the president kicked back. So we should not be afraid of democracy. We need to deepen our democracy, and one of the ways of doing that is to enhance the independence of parliament. I think, respectfully, I admire the speaker a lot, but he was a little errant in his comments.
I don't know you to be one of those who will shy away from speaking as bluntly as is required. Everybody appears to be shy to say who it is that cost Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu his seat. Joe Wise stood up at the beginning and was very strong that he was against the coup that was going on and that he knew Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu had not made any decision to resign his seat, even though he was taking up chairmanship of the manifesto committee. And so this was a surprise, and he was against it, that the party should not control it. Eventually, it was a letter from the party general secretary, Kodua, announcing who has been chosen. That was announced by the speaker in the House. Who do you think could have brought Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu to resign, albeit he now claims is voluntary?
Oh, not that. Who else? It's the president. I mean, for whatever reason, they calculate that for whatever the calculus is, I have things behind the scene. They think Bawumia is from the north. They are picking a rally from Ashanti. So they are going to, quote unquote, mollify Central Region by making up for him the majority leader. I actually think that is a really insulting token, because this will be just till the next election, and even if he's returning to parliament based on the election. So I think it is an insulting token, and it was ill-considered because it will hurt the party. Think about it. For the rest of the year, if there are indeed any decisions to be taken in parliament, you have 20 to 40 members of your caucus, including people like Honorable Joe Wise, who was strong and principled, being unhappy. A few people missing votes will make your agenda flounder. So it was not a very wise decision.
Don't you credit the lame duck president with too much power at this time?
No, I don't. I mean, if you think about it, this is, they are still running Dr. Bawumia's campaign. Whatever else we see, you know, even though he made a public speech in which he claimed to have been a mate and never known about anything that was done. People know that the speech was circulated for about a week among the Chebi Mafia, so that everybody will bless it before it was done. You know, so I really think that they are not serving the party well, and Dr. Bawumia himself has erred if he has either signed off on this or been indifferent with.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur Kennedy. And I spoke to you. I'm coming to you guys. Just give me a minute of your responses here. At page 136 of the Constitution Review Committee's report, they noted that although it is recognized that the formal authority of Parliament is relatively strong, Parliament has in practice not developed into that autonomous, independent and vital institution capable of asserting its authority and discharging its constitutional functions. Its oversight functions, for example, have been asserted only in very minimal terms. The relative weakness of Parliament has been further deepened by one of the most prominent features of the constitutional arrangement under the 1992 Constitution, executive dominance. For example, Parliament has virtually no real financial power. Under the current constitutional arrangement, Parliament is denied the power to influence its own institutional budget. So, a lot of things. Is this the way to empower a Parliament that we can expect, like he said, to veto an Ejapa project that it doesn't want, for example?
Well, I think it is only fair and proper for me to commend Dr. Arthur Kennedy for his objectivity and frankness, particularly on the issue of Ejapa.
That same characteristic.
There is a leading member of the New Patriotic Party, for those watching who don't know him, senior to Richard in terms of clout, gravitas, experience, telling you that Ejapa is a reform. He has settled the matter, so let's make progress. Now, the big question is this. Who sacked Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu? We all know the person. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as Arthur Kennedy told us. He's the one who sacked him. Why did he sack him? Number one, as a payback for what he believes to be the role of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu in the Ken Must Go agenda. He's paying him back. We all know him as a vindictive person. And if you check from sources at the presidency, you will know that this is one of the main reasons for the ousting, the embarrassing ousting of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. Why did he sack him? Number two, because he believed that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu did not do enough to block the anti-LGBTQ bill currently before Parliament. And that it is Afenyo Makin who has tried to employ some shenanigans.
So these are presumptions.
Not presumptions. These are the information that we have gathered. Like he told you that he's checked from his sources behind the scenes. This is what we are all gathering. Other than that, what is the crime of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu? Having served this party for more than 2 decades in Parliament, to be treated like this. Or Richard Anyagba even be treated like this in NPP. How can you do this to Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu? You understand? So it is what they believe to be his acquiescence to the anti-LGBTQ bill, which President Akufo-Addo is not part of, and his role in the Ken Must Go agenda. And number 3, the decision by Akufo-Addo and what Arthur Kennedy calls, the people he calls the Achem or Chebi Mafia, I'm borrowing his words, to weaken the Ashanti control of the party. Because they say that they are going to pick a running mate from Ashanti, and therefore, the leader of government business in Parliament cannot be an Ashanti or Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, the foremost Ashanti in their party today. Well, it is clear from all these things that the NDC, the NPP is in turmoil. Things have fallen apart. The center can no longer hold. Everything is in disarray. Their former Deputy General Secretary says he's going to form a new party. 2 sitting members of Parliament have rejected appointments from the government because they know the ship is sinking and sinking very fast. And leading members of the NPP like Professor Frimpong Boateng and Arthur Kennedy have all served notice that the party is on its way into opposition.
Richard,
this is the more reason why Ghanaians must show them the red card come 7 December 2024.
This could have been managed. This could have been better managed. Joe Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, first Deputy Speaker, was heard clearly. He said the majority caucus has not made any changes to its leadership. The new rule says this is the job of the majority caucus. If you say as NPP, you are the guys who respect law and you have lawyers and all of that, why do you set the law aside in this way? It says the majority caucus has not contemplated making any changes to its leadership. Such publication should be ignored. The status quo should remain. Unfortunately, it didn't take 2 days, and we heard of meetings at Alisa and the rest of them, and then eventually Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu coming in to say, I've resigned voluntarily, but I had to do that to avoid a certain implosion in the party.
Well, something. Thank you very much. Let me just say briefly, is it Dr. Arthur Kennedy is supposing to us that when you suspect and you see somebody circling your farm with a basket and a knife, cutlass in his hand, you assume that that person is not capable of having his own farm. And so therefore you shoot the person just because you see him circling your farm. What kind of country would Dr. Arthur Kennedy would have led in this country if he had won the presidential primaries of the MPP to form a government? What kind of government will he have formed?
You don't want to say that about him.
But that's what
he's a man who was reputed and assessed by almost all the media to have the best of ideas. No problem. Except he didn't have the pockets to back
so are you saying, please, would you say, can you just say something? Samson,
time is almost up.
No, you can't do that. Are you trying to say that as a lawyer, this concept he has proposed, that you see somebody a basket circling, that you shoot the person, you convict the person because he's come to steal your maize in your farm? That's completely bogus. You can't do that. It's unreasonable. Sammy here is talking about, honorable, please. Sammy here is talking about Honorable Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu has been abused. What has he not said about Honorable Haruna Idrisu? What has he not? Muntaka, what has he not said about them? When it was just a matter of them approving, nominees of the government, and how violently they removed them from parliament. Today, I don't know if there is any demonstration, if there's any demonstration in Swami, but there was demonstration in Tamale when Haruna Idrisu was yanked off his seat. Our constitution is clear. In Article 13.2, depending on what version you are reading.
You mean the
MPP constitution. Okay?
What
the
does
version I'm reading, it tells you that National Council is seized with the power to select majority leader, deputy majority leader, majority whip, and deputy majority.
Your constitution,
National Council.
Your constitution is subservient to the Constitution of Ghana, which requires that a constitution of parties must be modeled along democratic principles. And if there are rules of the House, standing orders have been approved, and they say that it is the caucus,
your point
stick with the
doesn't even
caucus.
arise, because the Speaker of Parliament himself has ceded to the party position. So really, what point you are raising?
The Speaker of Parliament does not override the rule.
But he will rule in the matter. He ruled in the matter.
He's the ultimate interpreter
exactly.
of the rules. Okay.
So he ruled in the matter to say that the party has locus to do that.
Consultation.
But our constitution tells you that that's what we want to do it. The Speaker has ruled that that's what it ought to be.
No, the Speaker says you should be consulted.
That's fine. Consultation, however way you want to interpret it, is subject to you. But we're saying that consultation is that we select, because our constitution says that we, the National Council, has that power, the highest vesture of power in our party. National Council has the final say in who leads the party. So that's the final conclusive matter. So it cannot be that the MPP doesn't appreciate democracy. We are doing democracy according to the dictates and the document we have accepted for ourselves. And by the way, Dr. Arthur Kennedy has not spoken
we're doing just about 10 minutes extension.
Yes. Has not spoken independently. He has spoken as an individual who is and has not spoken as a member of this MPP, because our constitution, oppose what he's doing. What he's saying is completely false.
The first deputy speaker of parliament is your member.
Yes. Who says what?
You haven't heard what he said?
No, what he said.
Let's hear what Joe Wise had to say.
I'm just
let's play him.
The question I was asking is that what he says, what does he amount to in terms of law? Our party position is that, which he subscribed to as a member of the party. The constitution of our party says that power is vested in the party to select who lead in parliament. So what he says is his opinion. It's not law as a member of the party. And the speaker also ceded to that position. So really, this is much ado about nothing. If you go according to the rules that we have.
Just hold on. Just hold on. Listen to this. Just hold.
I thought it was just a matter that was said in jest. But you appear to have taken a position and offering a beautiful interpretation of yours. Very welcome, very beautiful. The Speaker, it would appear to me that in interpreting the parliamentary portion, we haven't taken a look at the various wings of the other parties. If you take my party, the NPP, for example, we have what we call the women's wing, the youth wing. When it comes to selecting leaders of the youth wing, the party says, the youth, you go and decide. And they select their leaders. When it comes to the women's wing, they say, women, you go and decide. And they select their leaders. So I am not aware of any parliament where anybody outside parliament selects leaders for the parliament. I think in interpreting the standing orders and the constitution, this group, the parliamentary group, must be recognized as a wing of the party which can and must take decisions regarding its leadership. It doesn't mean that the party has no role. The wing, the parliamentary wing, is a wing of the party. And in deciding who will lead them, I think it should be left to the party, the parliamentary wing of the party.
First Deputy Speaker, who was very angry, very livid about the circumstances, and said that he knew that Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu had not taken any decision to resign, and so what was happening, he was disappointed. In fact, he was himself later disappointed in Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu's decision to now, as it were, cave into the pressure. A foremost governance, expert in our country, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, says, we have allowed the parties to assert too much power over their MPs in Parliament, turning them into robots in the process. MPs do not sit in Parliament as representatives of their parties only. If at all, they represent their constituents, the nation, the party, and are also there in their own individual capacities. The party alone cannot dictate how they must think or act or vote in Parliament. We have gotten it all wrong. You don't agree with this?
No. That's fine. That's his opinion.
Spoken at
but no, please. Let me just stop this for once. You see, the point we are making is that people can express their opinion. They can go by way of trying to amend the constitutions. But today, as it stands, any parliamentary candidate, even in the 2024 election, will be sponsored by the political party, right? So if a political party sponsors you to go to a parliament, the party has an agenda. It has an orientation, a policy position. It wants to move. And so when you go there, you disagree with that position.
And the parliament is at the same time supposed to be a check on the executive.
But not an executive, but not on the party. Because you are there. Because
but the party and executive, what's the difference?
You cannot sit on this platform and bash multimedia.
I can.
Well, I don't know what your rules are.
I can.
Or if
multimedia does wrong, I will.
As a political party, we won't allow
I will do it.
Very well.
Yeah.
That's your rule. But our rule says, and it's expressed, and I have accepted that to be member of the party, to run on the party's ticket, that the party is supreme. Because the party has a certain agenda which you subscribe to. Our Article 1 of our Constitution talks about what our objectives are. So you subscribe to that. And you are a member of the party. You must adhere to that position.
I hear you.
You can't go contrary to it. But the NDC has no standing in this matter because they abused Haruna Idrisu, Montaka, they abused them.
They chose their leaders under the old rule, which the orders say the party must designate.
So an abuse is
of course, it wasn't the best.
Okay, now you see, I am shocked to the marrow. You see, you can disagree with somebody, especially when the person is senior to you in your own party. You know how to express yourself.
But you have insulted Haruna Idrisu.
How can you sit on?
Are you at the level of Haruna Idrisu to
how can you sit on?
So the thing you were accusing him of doing, you are doing the same. So stop. Stop. How can you? There would be no comeback.
How can you?
But you have to tell him.
If you want, I will give you my time. Let me make my point.
He has insulted.
Do you know for how long he spoke? He spoke. Yeah.
See,
Samson, you should correct me.
Sorry, Rich is.
he's always playing victim and carrying foul. But he's guilty of the very things he complains about. You see,
So proceed. He will
you
disrupt you.
cannot describe Dr. Atta Kennedy's view
Is that what you are talking
on
about?
internal happenings in your party as unreasonable.
Well, yes.
You are a brother, and I am advising
I thought you were going
that
to
was
say young.
totally uncalled for. That is unacceptable.
Sabi,
Say that he is wrong, you disagree with him. Don't use insulting
You
words
have
like unreasonable.
insulted the right honorable
Number two,
Speaker of
it is not
Parliament.
true. I have not
It is
insulted
true.
anybody.
I have the statement here. You can read it.
I issued a statement, disagreed
Insulting
with the position
them.
you took. Never insulted
You
anybody.
did.
The point
You
here
did.
is this. You see, I do not share the views of Professor Ichi Prempeh that the party must not have a say, whether under the old rules or the new rules, in its leadership in Parliament. I think that process must be a consultative process, but the ultimate decision must rest with the party. However, if the decisions or the changes are done fairly with respect to those affected, I will not have a problem. But I will have a problem when you decide to pay Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, back for no wrong done, but simply because he supported an agenda for the removal of the former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta, and has not played the role you expected him to play in opposing the anti-LGBT.
Everybody appears, many people in Ghana appear to say the way Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu has been treated is most unfair. But you see, you cannot be speaking and giving any moral lesson on this.
Why?
Because of what you did to
But I thought you
Haruna
just said that was under the old law.
Yes, but that didn't mean you should have done what you did to even in their case. They ended up with a certain handing over ceremony.
LGBTQ and no, the point
Let's hear Afenyo Markin, who is now the new leader. Let's hear him.
We got the venerable MP for Swami, Honorable Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. It's an institution, no doubt. It's a big shoe I'm going to wear. And I recall Haruna Iseku telling me that MPP is not easy to be a leader. And I know behind me are professors, doctors, lawyers, businessmen. They know it. It's going to be tough. But colleagues, I call on your cooperation. I call on your support. And I also, Mr. Speaker, invoke the support and blessing of those ascended leaders of this House to endure me with such fortitude, not to fail in this hour of trial.
Is the new majority leader of the Parliament of Ghana. He's supported by Patricia Appiah-Jay, and then the chief whip is Frank Anodompre. Habib Idrisu is the first deputy chief whip, and the second deputy whip is Alex Tete. Yeah. My guests on the show today have been Richard Ahiagba, Director of Communications of the NPP, Sami Jemfi, National Communications Officer of the NDC. Bryce Simmons joined us earlier, and Dr. Atta Kennedy, physician and political activist, also joined us on the final leg. My outfit, as always, is by Habil Scruter. You can contact them on 0200 84 1988. You find them at the Ajiringano Gate, East Legon. I'm Samson Ladia Nyanini. Have a good afternoon.